Good morning, students. Today we will start our first chapter from geography, that is resources and development. What is resource and what is development? I think you all are familiar with these two words. Both of these terms are different. In this chapter we will understand what is resource and how resources are developed. So, everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. It means resource is whatever that is available in and around our environment that can be used to fulfill or satisfy our needs, but it should have three conditions. They are technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Here, technologically accessible means the material, for an example, minerals like gold or silver, mining is done by using some technology, and after extraction, they are used. Without technology, the minerals would not have been extracted and it would never be of use. Secondly, economically feasible means the material should be able to be distributed among us humans. It should not be too expensive that no one can afford it. And the third condition, culturally acceptable, means the material should have such importance and use that it is accepted by people. So even if there are some resources and it is overlooked and it does not fulfill all of these conditions, then it is not considered as resource because it will be of no use to humans. In this table, you can see that during the process of transformation of material into resource, human beings are interconnected to physical environment, that is nature, from where we find the things or materials, after which some technology is used to access that material, and an institution is formed where that material is transformed to resource and are being used. So, in other words, human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Human beings are also essential components of resource because they are the one who transforms the material to resources and use them. Resources are classified in the following ways: on the basis of origin, on the basis of exhaustibility, on the basis of ownership, and on the basis of status of development. Before going further, let us first understand in which form the classification is mainly done. In this given diagram, that is figure 1.2, classification of resources is done in two ways, two forms. They are natural and human. Under natural comes renewable and non-renewable. And renewable means which can be materials which can be replenished, and non-renewable means once used up cannot be replenished again. Under renewable resources, there also comes two kinds of resources, which is one is continuous or flow. It means we get the resources continuously from the nature. And under biological, again, it is divided into two, that is natural and wildlife. Natural vegetation and wildlife. Natural vegetation and wildlife. Here resources are multiplied through plantation or propagation, and in wildlife the resources are reproduced by giving birth to the little ones and the cycle continues. And in non-renewable, it is also classified into two, that is recyclable and non-recyclable. Example for recyclable is metals. Metals can be transformed by melting the metal and turning it into any weapons or any tools. And it also consists of non-recyclable, example, that is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels once used is used, so it is non-recyclable. And under humans comes two types, that is structure and institutions, and quantity and quality. We will learn about this further in the chapter. You may also confuse and have a question that why there are different classifications. They are not different, they are same. And in this table, it is for the better understanding for you, which is divided into natural and human. Here you can see that on the basis of origin and on the basis of exhaustibility itself is natural, and on the basis of ownership and on the basis of status of development is based on human activities and human resources. Now moving on to types of resources, first we will discuss on the basis of origin. Origin means from where it has started, or the beginning, the very first source. So under this there are two types, that is biotic resources and abiotic resources. In biotic resources, these are obtained from biosphere and have life, such as human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. The word biosphere used here is a Greek word. Bio itself means life, and sphere is the layer of the earth where life exists. So these are the examples which have life and are living things. So basically biotic resources is based on the living things like human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. So abiotic resources is just the opposite. It consists of all those things which are composed of non-living things. An example for this is rocks and metals. So here you can see that in biotic resources it consists of living things, and abiotic resources consist of non-living things. The second type is on the basis of exhaustibility. You know already what exhaustibility means. It means the resources which can be exhaust or not. It consists of renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are those resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes. It is also termed as replenishable resources. Its example is solar and wind energy, water, forest and wildlife, etc. We have seen in figure 1.2 that the renewable resource may further be divided into continuous or flow. Non-renewable resources are those resources which cannot be replenished or renewed. It gets exhausted after use. Minerals and fossil fuels are its examples. Though it cannot be replenished, but some of the resources like metals are recyclable, and some like fossil fuels cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. The third type is on the basis of ownership. What do you mean by ownership? Ownership means to own something. It can be in the form of things, lands, or even the ocean. In these given points, you will understand who owns what. In the first point, that is individual resources, resources are owned by private individuals here. People may own a land, house or other properties and can utilize it in any manner they want. Plantation, pasture lands, ponds, water in wells, etc. are some of the examples of resources ownership by individuals. And the land which is owned by the community is called community-owned resources, such as public parks, picnic spots, playground, and in village, grazing grounds, burial grounds, village ponds, etc. These are the resources which can be used by all the members of the community. Now coming to the next, that is national resources. National resources are those resources within the country or nation. Technically, all the resources belong to the nation. So if the government has to build canals, railways, roads, etc., they need land. Some lands are already owned by private individual, but since it is for the public good, they have the legal power to acquire the land for construction. Surely people are compensated. They are given money for the part of their land that has been taken away. It is the urban development authorities that get empowered by the government to acquire land. Therefore, all the minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, land within the political boundaries belong to the nation. From the coastline, this is the coastline. From this, if you measure 12 nautical miles, so 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.9 kilometer. So if you measure 12 nautical miles from this coastline, this part, this area is also called territorial water, and every resources which is available here is owned by the nation. And from this 12 nautical miles to 200 nautical miles, this zone is called exclusive economic zone. And from this exclusive economic zone, from 200, beyond 200 nautical miles, whatever resources are available here is owned internationally. So international resources means resources which belong to all the countries of the world. It is internationally owned and it is regulated by international institutions. After ownership, here comes the 4 types of resources, that is on the basis of the status of development. It is based on how the resources are being used and not used. So the first point is potential resources. It is those resources which have the potential to be used and are available in a region, but it is not utilized fully, even if there is technology to be used. For example, the western parts of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for the development of wind and solar energy, but so far these have not been developed properly. And in developed resources, you can see that it is those resources which are already developed by surveying, and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. It is also dependent on technology and level of their feasibility. And in stock, here materials have potential and are available with us, and it is in stock, but there is no technology to access the resource. For example, water is a compound of 2 gases, that is hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen can be used as a rich source of energy, but we do not have advanced technology here to use it. In the case of reserves, there are resources which have the potential and can be developed. It also has technological accessibility, but it has been used to limited extent. For example, river water. It can be used for generating hydroelectric power. Not all the rivers are used. Some are saved for the future requirements. Here you can see the difference that in potential resources have the potential and it also has the technology, but the resources are not developed so that they can be used. And in developed resources, it has the resources and also technology is there and it is also developed. Everything is available here. But in stock, materials, they have the potential, but they do not have technology. Whereas in reserves, they have the resources, they have the technology, and they are also willing to develop it, but they are saving it for the future use. So these are the little difference between these resources, which you should not confuse about. After understanding the classification, now let us come to development of resources. Why do we need to develop resources? As we all know, resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. Vital means extremely important. We humans have used the resources continuously over the years in such a manner that there are some problems which has disturbed the environment, such as depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. People are always greedy. They need more and more. So to satisfy its greed, people tend to use the resources at very fast rate, which is resulting in its depletion. Resources are running out. And secondly, accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, that is, haves and have-nots, or rich and poor. It means few people who has more money has more access to the various resources which can make them richer. This divides the society into rich and poor. It is also termed as haves and have-nots. Here, haves are the rich and have-nots are the poor. And also, if the resources are indiscriminate, exploited, that is, if the resources are exploited and not used carefully, it leads to global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation, which are a major threat to our Mother Earth. So, if the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. Therefore, resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. Before looking into resource planning, we will look into the sustainable development. What are the steps taken to improve and sustain the development? So, what is sustainable development? Sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generations. To overcome the problems of the environment and to sustain it, there was a meeting held called Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. It was a meeting held on June 1992 where hundreds heads of state met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. To come to a solution to the problem of environment, the summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. The leaders who assembled this meeting signed the Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. This Rio Convention supported the Global Forest Principles and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. Now, Agenda 21 is the declaration which aims at achieving global sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interest, mutual needs, and shared responsibilities. And also, one major objective of the Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. It means Government of a country should aim at finding a solution to overcome poverty, diseases, and environmental damages. We will end the class today here, and the next topic will be discussed in the next class. So before that, let's recall what we have studied. Today we have studied what is resource. Resources has three important components or factors. They are technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. And also we have seen that human beings is interrelated to the nature, that is physical environment, the technology, and the institutions. And we have seen how the resources are classified. They are classified on the basis of origin, on the basis of exhaustibility, on the basis of ownership, on the basis of status of development. And after learning the classification, we have also seen what are the problems that were caused by overusing the resources, and it has led to the division of society, and also it has led to the depletion of resources, and also led to global warming, ozone layer depletion, etc., which is a major cause of threat to the planet Earth. And we have also seen how these problems can be solved by sustainable development, and it was also taken further by the country. There were meetings held to combat the situation, where they signed some declaration and mainly aims at saving the environment. With this, we will conclude today's class. Thank you.